What's going on, everybody? This is Josh. I'm the owner and trainer for Mirkwood Bestiaries. I got my good man right here, Elijah from Socal Presas. We're going to be doing an interview today talking about his kennel, some of the things that a lot of people might not know about real working presses, as well as the XL Presa. So we're going to be getting into quite a few different things. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, my good man?
Brother, thank you first and foremost for having me on, man. I've been seeing you train for quite a while. You've worked with some of the best. We love these guys. They're excellent. My name's Elijah. I'm with Socal Presas. I specialize in the Perro de Canario from Spain. And definitely, we have a very unique take on what we are looking for in our Presa Canarios. We do a work line mindset and body, what they show for the coat is very unique. It seems like some breeders out there will kind of do one or the other. It's very rare that they're doing it like how we're doing it. And I raise them at home, so they're getting a top-notch care all the time. I've been doing this since before 2005, so over 20 years of experience with this particular breed. And we love them, man. They live with us. I have quite a lot of partnerships, and everything we do is pretty much for the client and the best outcome that they're going to be able to have with them. So we just want to bless somebody with happiness, essentially.
Wonderful, man. So, knowing that you breed the Presas now, what was the first dog breed that you owned that got you started into loving dogs and wanting to be a dog fanatic?
So that's a great question, man. I remember having dogs as a kid. I remember roughly like their names, their what they were. Like I remember having one Sunshine. I don't know what the heck kind of dog he was. Real fluffy coat. Then the next one was Rocky. He was like a Doberman, German Shepherd mix, right? But see, here's the kicker: is that they weren't my dogs. They were like my parents' dogs, right? So how
Which
they
one was the first breed that was your dog?
Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna get into that. So these dogs were like they were left aside, in like the backyard. They didn't know sit, they didn't know anything, right? So then my first dog that was still my parents' dog, but then it was so cool to me. I thought, man, this is such a badass dog. Was the Rottweiler, right? They had bought a purebred German Rottweiler, and this thing was so cool to me, man. They got it as a pup. I'm like, oh, I love this thing already. So without having any type of training experience, I just started doing my best just off the strength. I'm just like, let me see what works. Let me see what this dog responds to. And so for months, I would just spend like hours and hours and hours walking the dog, talking to the dog, trying different things to see what worked. And sure enough, of course, my parents would definitely say it was the best dog they've ever had. Duh. No
Right.
kidding, because they trained the damn dog for you, with no experience.
Yeah, they got a free training session for the dog, and all they had to do was just, birth you.
Yeah, exactly. So I fell in love with that dog, and my wife's a therapist, so we kind of analyzed like why do I love having the pups, because that's something on its own. So raising pups, raising them at home, just not putting them in the kennel, just having them like in the home with me all the time. So, anyways, that same dog I'm talking about, her name is Nala. She's a German Rottweiler, right? So I was a little badass at the time. I was like 13 years old, smoking cigarettes in the backyard, right? And it was nighttime. This stray ran out from we had this big tree in the backyard. I didn't even know what it was, dude. I'm just smoking a cigarette, and this thing just scares the crap out of me. It just runs out from behind the tree. I'm like, what is that? I look, and it takes its front paws, grabs the top of the fence, pulls on it, and then climbs back over.
Oh, damn.
Sure enough, the damn dog was pregnant. Like, I didn't know anything about cycles. My parents were idiots. And so, of course, 2 months later, she has pups, right? And they didn't have her at the time in the house. So they had her outside in the doghouse, and she has pups in the ring, right? And I bring them in the garage because I'm not allowed to just bring them in the house, right? So bring them into the garage, start drying them off and everything. And that was just instantaneous, man. Like just my love of nurturing these puppies started right then and there. And again, I didn't
That's
understand
amazing.
until I had spoken with my wife. She said, "Oh, that's probably where you'd gone, that
The
just
bond.
I guess desire to care, and have this extra love. Because man, like when we have pups now, like we'll all dedicate a whole room to the pups, and literally like we know when she's giving birth. I will rip open the placentas. I'll flip them over. I'm patting them on the back. I'm making sure they're breathing. I'm
Yeah,
making
you're
sure
in the nitty gritty.
I'm in it, man. I'm in it. I'll do like the inline filter, like the carbon filter. It's like the grow house style. I'll have that connected to like the outside of to the window. So all that puppies, stink and smell. Because dude, that stuff is rats, man. That stuff will make me nauseated, right? All that goes outside, so the room will smell fresh, no problems. Um, I go out of my way for these guys, man. I've been doing that. I've been doing that same technique forever, forever and ever. If it before it
Go.
was that, it was like it would be the master bedroom of our. We had a very well. The kids have it now, so we've always had it. I basically moved with my wife to in the last house we had. It was basically just a dog house. We wanted a bigger property for our dogs because living in a neighborhood in a suburb, it's hard to have enough room for a breast canario for them
Yeah.
to spread their legs and to haul ass and to do their thing.
It's because they're naturally intimidating dogs. A lot of people who aren't used to being around that kind of dog, they see that dog, even if it stays in your yard, just the fact that that dog can put its paws on the other side, some people are like, no, that dog can jump into my yard, and then they want to start problems for that reason alone.
Yeah,
Dog hasn't
and
done
I'm sure you
anything,
can.
but they don't know, and they just want to assume the worst all the time.
I'm sure you can attest to that exact thing, like with your dogs, because you have some very,
Hmm.
very intimidating dogs as well. Like when you're walking them, I'm sure people are like, "Well, they'll just cross the street." There's no
Yep.
verbal negotiation going on. They see you coming, and they're just like, "I'll just go across the street." So yeah, people are typically terrified of these dogs. But yeah,
Yep.
we're responsible owners, so
It's also due to a lot of lack of proper information and a lot of widespread misinformation. A lot of people look at the pit bulls, for example, as a dog that is malicious, that it'll kill a baby on sight regardless of how it was brought up, but that in itself is wrong. It's just like assuming that any child is going to grow up to just kill anybody the first chance that they get. That's not the
100%,
case. A lot of upbringing has a really big factor to play in that. So you want to make sure
100%
when
agree.
you're bringing a dog up, you're showing it right from wrong just as you would a child. I read somewhere that any dog breed, no matter what dog it is, no matter how smart the dog is, IQ of a 5-year-old. So with that being said, you want to make sure that you're aware of how smart these dogs are, but also their inherent instincts and prey drive that they have. They may be as smart as a kid, but they got the killing instincts of a wild animal. So,
Most definitely, I totally agree with you. And going back to the human thing, it's a lot of times it's like, there's a bad person in this world, probably because they have bad parents or a bad upbringing. And it's the same thing with like a dog. Like you can have most any dog. I really don't see. I I've trained quite a lot of big working dogs. Any of these dogs I can attest to, if they were brought up in a certain environment, they wouldn't have that agitation part of it. I've had my own bloodline to where my clients don't train them or raise them to have that. And they're like, when we do an education session, they're like, what do I do? Like, I don't, I've been nice to everybody my whole life. Why would I want to bite this guy in the arm in the sleep? Like,
Yep.
I don't want to do that. So yeah, it's everything is, and this is what I tell my clients: they're going to be a direct reflection of their owners. They really
Yep.
are. So whatever you're looking for out of your dog, whether it's even a small dog. Listen, my cousin, he's a trainer. He's definitely, I've trained with people who are over the top, under the top, like they're all over the place. And I've reverse engineered my own program. My cousin, all of his animals are mean. It's just because he's a bastard, and that's how he likes his animals. All of them. His Frenchies, they're jerks. They'll bite you.
Hmm.
The Chihuahuas, they'll get you too. It's nuts. So any dog you want to be that way can be that way, but
Yeah.
obviously it's a double-edged sword. It does come with responsibility. I mean, if you own a home, a lot of people do, you don't want to get sued for it. So, that being said, it's not like, hey, just make all your dogs, aggressive and not have any responsibilities. It comes with that liability and responsibility attached to it. Now we know we have 4 adult dogs in the house. All of them. I don't have anything else. I only have rescue parents for the last 20 years. Um, and so you come into my house, like, they're going to be put away. They're not just going to be running around. Oh, maybe you'll raise your hand at them when I'm not looking. I'm in the bathroom, and just for
Yeah,
fun.
and think
Let's
that
see
you
how
can
this
go and
goes.
try to and disrespect my dog and try to abuse my dog. Nah,
Right. I train my dogs that way. When they see me do this, they're like, "Oh, Dad wants to get beat up." Like, so
Yep.
they're not scared of that. Like, that would literally trigger something in their mind. So, my wife and I both understand the liabilities involved with having such a strong guardian dog. That's it, and that's all. That's what it boils down to. Unfortunately, I mean, as you know, there's a lot of people that cannot have that responsibility. They would just do the dog the whole entire breed injustice. They give us a bad reputation overnight. So regardless, man, I've had some people that were, and I won't mention it, but I've had some huge music and movie artists and
Movie
actors,
people. You got some
dude.
people of repute. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's just, and I literally refund it because 9 out of times we're doing reservations in advance on their website. I look into this person, I refund them their cash because I'm like, oh, there's no way. No, there's no way.
Yep.
You're gonna instantly, like, the second I give it 1 year, and then something's gonna happen, and then you're gonna be on the news, and then, oh, where'd you get the dog from? Oh, Socal Presas. No, I
Yep.
don't want to be attached to any of that.
Exactly.
And it's a small world. Like, some of the big guys that I'm still in touch with now understand, like, when somebody's had a bad experience with our dogs because of how they raise them, and I've figured it out. Like, I won't get into the story, but and you and I have discussed this before. They'll, like, the word will get around. The word will get around, and like,
Yep.
and the guy who knows me is like, dude, I know it wasn't because of you. It was because of what they did. And I'm like, yeah, this is literally what they did.
Hmm.
And it's like, I want. And then maybe
Yeah.
on this particular
I
episode, I
feel
won't do
that
it.
though. Plus,
Maybe
one
later
thing I
on,
will say
but
about people with people of repute, a good amount of them, you have to be worried about selling a dog to them of this caliber because you got to think if they're that famous, they're probably traveling a lot. So if they're traveling, unless this dog is going with them everywhere to every shoot and everything, someone else is going to be watching that dog. Is that dog good with that person? Is that person responsible enough to be able to deal with that dog? Or are they getting certain trainers and just pawning the dog off to them and just having them train with them while they're gone and be like, hey, just essentially babysit my dog, but
true.
I'm a look at it as training the dog. I've had a couple of clients that
Yeah,
were that way. They wanted me to go and train the dog, and it's a private session, not a board and train, and yet they're not there for the session. They're not actually working the dog because they got
gotcha.
business calls. They're in a different city, state, and while I don't mind that, the whole point of a private session and what I like to do when I train my clients, I want to set you up for success. I can teach the dog how to do all this and that, but the dog is going to do all of that for me. If the dog's not building that type of bond and that relationship with you, it's not going to do it when you ask like that. Now, if I'm there and I ask the dog to do it, it'll do it like that. But that's because I'm putting the work in with the dog. If you're not there to build that bond, you'll never have that bond with the dog. And then it makes it a lot harder to develop that bond the older the dog gets. And then that also leads to that issue where a lot of bad stuff happens. You know, the dog bites them and it's their dog, but the dog's only known the trainers or the people that caretake for the dog.
And you just said that in what you said there is that you're training the client, and that is like, and that's how it goes. You can give a military or a police dog to someone who doesn't know anything, and how good is that dog going to be with that person? It's going to be almost useless because that person doesn't understand and can't unlock anything from that dog. But they don't have that previous training. So that's a good point. Is that like when we're doing things with the clients, like I personally don't. When I was doing training, I never boarded anybody's dog. Every trainer has their own thing, and I get it. There's reasons for boarding. I just never did it because I was like, that person needs to be there to see what I'm doing. Yeah, no, of course. And for me, I'm like, that person needs to be there to see what I'm doing. And it's like rinse and repeat. This is what you're going to do because this is what I'm doing. This is where you're seeing it happen. You do that, you know. Don't do your own thing. Do what I'm doing because obviously this is why you're coming to somebody who knows what they're doing because what you've done doesn't work. So that's a great point, man. That's a great point.
Yeah, one thing I will say in terms of when I do board and train, I do require that at least one day out of the week, you either are there in person learning what went on. If we're doing like a 2 week plus board and train, I want to make sure that you're at least aware of what's being worked with your dog. And if you're there in person, if you want to implement that, or if you can't be there in person and you're traveling, then I would like you to at least video chat it. So that way you can be there. Most people can go into a cafe. Starbucks is global, baby. So you could go into a Starbucks, get some free Wi-Fi, a latte, and then just be right there, see what the dog has done. Or worst case scenario, you can't do any of that. I send you the file. You are aware of what is worked with your dog. You watch it. Let me know you watched it. And then we're good. Then at least you're aware of what's been done with your dog. But I want to make sure that these people actually are taking the initiative to care about what's going on with their dog.
Agreed. And I guess I'm looking at it more of like, because, you know, I mean, I guess the ones that when I was doing this many, probably this was about 17 years ago when I had worked with a ton of dogs in a very short period of time, basically in about a 3-year time span. And so these people were definitely they had more one-on-one time with the dogs. And I could see that. They're like, you would want, you know, like you're doing this, you do training. Yeah, I would get it. You would want to board dogs that don't have that initial, like anything from the owner. And you're pretty much having to start from scratch because these people haven't done what they needed to do to get them to the point where you're going to get them. And you're going to need an extensive amount of time to make that happen. So, yeah, I mean, there's not one solution for a plethora of problems. It's just impossible.
I'm glad that you specifically brought that up too. There's this client that I had with this dog, and I actually posted a couple of the sessions on my Instagram. It's this tiny little mixed breed dog named Kiwi. When I first went to go and check this dog out, they told me that only the mom was allowed to touch the dog. All 3 of her sons got bit by the dog if they went to go and touch the dog. If it managed to sneak inside from outside, it would just go around biting the little kid specifically. And when I went to go and check him out, went to go and reach without my gauntlet on, tried to nip at me, then I told them, okay, go ahead and put this prong on him. They wanted to get a prong in advance, so I went and got it for them. Put the prong on him, get him hooked onto this leash. I'm going to go grab my gauntlet. Went and got it. Got the dog used to just being pet. It's like this dog was trying to take nips at me. It was going crazy.
Oh,
The
that's a
owner's
lot.
like, "Are you sure the dog is okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." It's just he doesn't like it. He's used to thinking that he can punk everyone and get his way, even though
So,
he's
really
this
quick,
tiny little
with your
thing.
hands, like, can you describe to us like how big this thing is?
So tiny little dog, like maybe a Shih Tzu or a Yorkie. It was a
Oh,
Yorkie teacup poodle mix. So
Jesus.
tiny little
So,
thing, little
like
tiny little
literally
thing.
like that big?
Yeah,
Oh
like
my God,
literally
dude.
that big, as big as
So
this man.
I could
Square.
already understand like these parents were probably bathing the hell out of it to the
Hmm.
point to where it's like, oh, I'm not even a dog anymore. I'm just like I'm another human, and they're
Yeah,
like,
I'm
and that's
above
a
you.
big problem.
Instead of the dog thinking it's
Yep,
below the owner in terms
yep.
of hierarchy, it's thinking I'm all the way up here. You guys are down right here.
I do that exact analogy with like the totem pole. Like that's how I'll say it. Is like essentially like
Yup.
you can't put them higher than you on that totem pole or even at the same level because then they're just not going to respect you and you're going to have that push and pull all the time. And then you can even have that, which is now like your kids are at risk or anybody else is at risk of like, even a small dog, like nobody wants to get bit, even by a small dog.
Yeah.
It's like what the hell? Like, I didn't deserve that. I was
Hey,
just,
even a small dog, it has the potential to break bone. Maybe not
yeah,
an
of course.
elephant bone, but a regular human, your pinky, so,
Yeah,
a small bone, they'll break that. Like a
for
dog like
sure.
that, a Yorkie will definitely break your finger or your thumb if it
There you
chomped
go.
down on it.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
once I got
Dangerous
that dog used to
situation.
being
It's
pet,
it's
yeah, so once I got that dog used to being pet by me, then the next 3 sessions, I told the owner, okay, we're going to be working with each of your son each week. All of them are going to get a whole hour of just them working the dog, just going that hour, doing basic obedience, learning, just building the foundation. Then after we got the kids, then we went into the mom. Then we went into the dad for 1 session since the dog was pretty much cool with him. Apparently the dad really didn't really care. Anytime the dog would go and try to nip at him, he'd just go and like literally lift him up with his hand when he would just go and shoo him away. The dog's like, yeah, I don't like that. So he would just leave him alone, but went after everyone else. So
yeah,
the
yeah,
big man
yeah,
asserted his dominance, so the dog was like,
yeah,
okay, you cool, but everyone else is getting.
yeah. Yeah. Oh man,
Yeah.
and that's funny you say that too, and that's something that people need to be reminded of is that, and it's funny because the last person who reminded me of that was the trainer you used to work with, and he's like, dude, don't forget, like we all have a relationship with our dogs, and I'm
Mhm.
like, damn, like you're right, like, and some of my dogs will like push it more with me, and especially like with the presses. My line of the presses are very emotional, so like you can turn them on, no problem. To turn them off sometimes is like way harder than turning them on because you're like, Dad, like we've identified this is a bad man. Why do you want me to stop? Like, you know, I bit him once. Why would I
Mhm.
want to stop? Like, this isn't a game, dude. Like, Dad, this isn't a game. Like, you've identified with him. I bit him. Let's do it again. I don't want to
Yep.
not bite him now. So I was getting frustrated, and he's seen that, and he's like, "Hey, dude, don't forget." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I did forget. Like we have this bond and this special thing with each one of the dogs that we have because they have a different personality, and so do we. So that being said, how I'm correlating that is to members of the family, and like so, the wife is going to have a certain bond with them. The kids, each of those kids, how many kids do you have? One,
Yep.
two, three, four. They're all going to have a different
Baby
bond.
on the
The
way.
husband, grandma, it just keeps on going. So whoever these people are coming across, they know, okay, I've had these type of experiences with them. Dogs are pretty damn smart, and they do remember quite a lot of things, especially the more you're working with them, the more
Yep.
experiences that they have. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So one thing I want to know, with that being said, how versed you are in the presses, what actually inspired you to want to start breeding presses specifically?
So the breeding thing came later. What happened is I was sorry. I don't know if you can
Yeah,
hear
I
that.
can hear them. I can hear them.
Okay.
Those are little monsters.
That's Bane in the background. So hopefully it's not too annoying because I'll literally.
Let it be known that he's got a door closed and that his room has good walls. He's not in no
Yeah.
apartment. This is a house wall.
Yeah. So this is a decent. That's my wife. Like it's hard. It's hard. You know, their barks like she's right behind me. They'll
Yep.
set each other up. This is like not too big of a
Chain
house.
reaction.
Yeah, it's like 25 or 2,600 square feet. Like this is like the outside is brick, and I can hear them outside when they bark. Right. I have four dogs in the house. Two of them are in one, or two of them are in one room, and the other two are in different rooms. So basically, 3 out of 4 rooms are being occupied right now. And so what got me into breeding them is, well, first and foremost, what got me into them is that I was looking for a dog for my family, and I never had the experience of many dogs at that time. And I had just random conversation with my grandmother. My grandmother can see me. Some of my videos, she's 96 right now. But at the time, she had told me that, you know, we have family in Spain. We look at the Presa scenario. And so that's what happened. I flew out there. I spent about 3 months out there looking at people's kennels, not only the people that I didn't know, but our family, their friends, and then
So you actually went to Spain and you went and did the real research to go and see which dog you wanted. All right, we're back, everybody.
Perfect.
Had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're back at it, strong as ever.
Yep. So I got into the Presa with my grandmother. 96 years old now, but this was 20 plus years ago. So essentially, I was looking for dogs online. I wasn't familiar with Presa. Asked her. We just were having a conversation. She reminded me that we do have families in Spain, and she reminded me of the Presa Canario. She was raised around them. She loved them. So went out there, spent about 3 months out there, visited my family's friends, immediate family, and then kennels that were out there that weren't associated.
So you went and did
so
the real work to try to find you a good dog that you wanted to start.
Exactly. So I see the variance of temperament, size, coats, the level of care, the work that they would do. I've seen a bunch of different situations. And so from there, I was like, okay, well, what do I want? And how do I want this process to go? And so from there, essentially, I always started with like extra large Presa Canarios. That's what I like. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the smaller ones were by, UKC, I don't know what our AKC standards are, but by UKC and by FCI, essentially, a lot of them were the standard, and we had some as well, quite a bit. They were on the other side of the spectrum. They were much larger. And I'm figuring, okay, listen, I'm going to have a guard dog for the family. This needs to be a big dog, something that's going to be able to take down a man without an issue. And that's what I went for. That's what I always went for. And this is so long ago. This is forever ago. So people are like now, like, oh, well, yeah, you have large presses. Is that normal? It's like, it's been normal for, back then. And it's been normal forever for me. So it's pretty damn normal.
Yeah, it's normal for someone who interacts with this on the daily basis, but for someone who's never seen something like this, it's definitely an abnormality.
Sure, I can see that.
It's going back to that chain reaction, there it is, going off in my background. There's the mailman going by or someone doing specific deliveries right now. So I got Goliath in the living room with my alibi, so she set it off.
It's normal for us. We're used to working with larger dogs. It's not even a big deal. We get so used to them. I mean, I still call Bane is going on like what 6 years old. He's 165 pounds, and I still call him my puppy. I still
Yeah.
touch him in the face like he's my baby, and they're all officially bite trained. I mean, they do their work. So
They're your
you know,
dogs, so it's like your children. No matter how big they get, they're still gonna be babies to you in your eyes.
basically,
Yeah.
exactly.
My big Corso,
So
he scares the living daylights out of everyone. He's done canine security. A lot of people see him and just how intimidating he just naturally looks and see me just kissing all up on him. And then he's just right there still.
yeah,
I'll eat everybody here. And
yeah,
then, like, how can you kiss him on the face like that? I'm like, 'cause that's my baby.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much. I mean, to wrap it up, that's pretty much how I got into them. I'm trying to think if there's any other influences that I had, but not really. At the time, they were pretty rare in the United States still. They've grown quite a ton of popularity in the last couple of years, but at the
Most
time there
definitely.
was very few and far in between. There wasn't much whatsoever. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
Mary, come here, baby. So, one thing involving the presses that I wanted to ask in regards to your dogs, I know that you got quite a few different presses. So, what are the few prominent ones that are like your major hitters in your camp? Like from your males and your females. This is
Oh,
Mary, by the way. This is Big Mary.
hey, what's up, sweetie?
Yeah, she's right there trying to keep an eye on what's going on.
That's good. That's good. Man, it's we've had so many to be honest. We haven't really done any show work because just I'm not into it. My mentor was into it. She told me the ins and outs of that, and so instantly I was turned off by it. So for show wise, really none that I can bring up. But man, just off the top, the King Cali King, he was one of my studs for a long time. We created him. An amazing dog. He was on the taller side, definitely a bit lanky, um, but he was amazing. Really good dog to the family. Wonderful guard dog. Good personality. Look at you. There.
Yeah, this is Freddy
Uh,
Three Legs. This is the
there you go.
three-legged dog that I was telling you about. I
Oh,
rescued this
Jesus.
guy on the side of the road near my job, and it was almost like an act of God. It's like he came to the right place. Apparently, he
Oh,
was staying at the sober living home across the road, and that's actually where he lost one of his legs. So they didn't
there.
have any gates, any environments for your dogs. And for all those people watching, if you're going to have any type of outside dog, make sure that you have a proper gating system in place. The gates are the right height for your dog breed. Don't go and get a XL or a giant breed dog and your fence is only 3 feet high. You want to make sure
Yeah,
that you have a fence that's going to be able to keep the dog in. An XL breed, you want to shoot for at least 5 to 6 feet,
agreed.
roughly minimum.
Agreed. Totally. So yeah, I mean, going back to that, I would say, yeah, Cali King was great. We had Tyson. Tyson's from Bane's mother, uh, Nina. We have Nina, of course, Bea. Those two were just around forever. We put out a decent amount of content with them in the beginning. I mean, and these are the ones that I've covered a lot. There's a lot of them that I haven't covered just because I didn't I wasn't planning on doing this really publicly.
Hmm.
So it wasn't until people seeing the training that I was doing with the dogs, how disciplined and great they were, and then and they're like, hey, like you should start breeding, and I'm like, I don't know, really
Presses
know if
are
I
very
want to.
smart dogs. I will say that. They
Mm-hmm.
got really
And,
good drive and they're very intelligent dogs.
right. So after so many people saying that, I sat back and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I may want to have this or that experience for my family too, but then I'm like this needs to be done right. And so I'm like, I started doing so much research of like how to pair dogs properly together because it's just beyond aesthetics. Like, and that's what I figured out essentially is that yes, health, temperament, mindset, yes, aesthetics for sure, of course, and um, a plethora of other things. That's how you're going to get like the best quality outcome from your future line. Is if you're, the more you think of these things, you can prevent health issues, or you can. Um, sorry, I'm getting a text from my one of my partners. So you can harness these, or excuse me, you can get away from any health issues, or you can just uh, make those health issues flourish. You know,
Yeah,
and there's
definitely.
some things you can't really get away from. So, but then you can avoid it
Such as hip
entirely.
dysplasia, that's something that
Right.
all Presas and all large breed dogs have
Okay. So
a complication
I'm
with.
glad you brought that up. And this is why I don't sell breeders. I've never had hip dysplasia, ever,
Nice.
ever, and it's because of that. It is because of that, like that I'm thinking forward of like I want them to live a full happy life. I don't want them to break down at 7, 8, 9 years old. Now they're like, dude, they're like, should I put them down? Should I not? Like we just put down two of our dogs, um, and they were both they were 11 and 12 years old. Presa Canario of my line. That was it. They were done. Like one of them got her face swollen to where it was like terrible, really bad. Like I don't want to get into too much, but it's just the whole point of like we want to see them to that extreme of like, and they were fine. They were able to walk around. They had good lives, no
Hmm.
problem. That's what we want essentially. So really, with all that, I'm basically been trying to create and harness a press scenario that is going to stand the test of time, make their family happy, and also be a wonderful source of protection for them. You know, and if I can do all that, I'm pretty
Help
sure
do
my
the
client.
breed justice versus trying to make it a, be a part of the giant percentage that are just trying to do it for the money.
Right, right, and we have a ton of followers on a multitude of social media accounts. We're worldwide known for quite a long time now. And if that was the case, then I would just be like, you know, my house would be a kennel. Like it would just be like I'd have 20, 30 cages out back, and and that'd be
Yep.
it. And it'd be nonstop litters. Like you want a dog now? I got him now. Like out of all ages, you want an adult? You want a fresh born one last night? But it's like I
Yep.
probably have. Last year I didn't have. Actually, no, I take that back. The year before I didn't have any dogs. Last year I had one litter, and then this year I think I'm going to have anywhere from like 2 to 3, and that's it. Like I don't have many litters. Like at least at this point, I would.
Yeah, you're very picky of when you decide that you're going to actually produce something.
Right, right. Um, I think the most I would do would be like 4. It's like 4 or 5 litters a year at one point. And like no, it was like yeah, 5 one year and then 4, and I'm like, okay, it's too much. It's like my life consists of just dogs, dogs, dogs. I don't have a break. They get me up on military
Hmm.
time. I'm listening to them. They're like, get me out of the house. I need to do this. I'm like, okay, let's go. And I'm sending them all out in the pack. And I'm like, okay, go pee. And they're all squatting and pissing.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, it's just too much.
As is, once Mary goes into heat, one of my other partners, Eric from Alibi Kings, the one that I got my Alibi Morticia from, he's going to be driving over here to Texas again to come by for a couple of weeks so we can try to breed his male king, his Alibi, with my Malakli Mary so we can try to produce
Nice.
some more Volkadog puppies and try to get the start on my breeding program of what I'm trying to look for because his male amazing drive, big boned dog, amazing. He's got that molossoid type body frame. He's an amazing dog. And in terms of drive, whoo! That boy, what he tries to do, he's like a sumo wrestler. Once he gets you, he tries to just force you to the ground. So it's like you really got to get that horse stance right. It's a good thing that I did a little Wing Chun practice growing up, and as well as in my adult years. Because man, as soon as he tried to go and slam me down, nah, man. You gotta make sure that these dogs, like, I was going and fucking with him through the cage, and he tried to go and grab me, bro. Couldn't even do that, man. Couldn't let him go and get that far because he had, I believe it was a pregnant female next to him. So I didn't want to geek him too much, but I also wanted to geek him up. But I didn't want him to go and try to turn around and be like, "Nah, fuck you, bitch. I can't get him. I'm gonna get you."
Right, yeah,
So,
exactly. They will
as you know, once that real drive turns in, you don't want them to take that out and all that frustration out on the first thing that they can turn their eyes on.
Yeah, no,
So,
and that's funny you bring that up because I would when I would be training dogs in pairs, and it was like for home guardian stuff, they would do that, and so like I'm agitating both. They're gonna go off on each other to draw first blood, and I'd have to like whack one that is like, nope, pay attention to me, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to kill you instead of each other. So they will definitely do that. I've seen that happen many times.
yeah, really large breed dogs, they're not like these small, light dogs that the moment that they go and grab you, they'll just sit there and stay on you and then just, while you're moving, they'll move with you and bite you like how the Dutchies, like how Mals and certain pit bulls will go and tassel with you and run around with you. These large breed dogs want to bring you down. So that way the energy
Right.
that they're expending is being used dominating you versus sitting there and fighting with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
These dogs want to hurt you when they want to actually do some work. They don't want to sit there and play with you and go and dance around with you and do the float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. They want to go in like Mike Tyson. Hey, they're like, right there to the noggin, down on the floor. 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Well,
completely
I mean,
take them out.
basically to wrap up your question, I really do try to aim, in the same direction with all of them as far as like quality. In the end, when they're not with me and they're our partners, it's gonna boil down to what they've done with them and the training that they've done with them and the time spent with them. Because ours have done everything from bee hunters to home protectors, um, service dogs in the emotional and health related fields,
There you go.
medically, I guess that's how you want to say it. It's all over the place. I mean, we've had one take down a bear. Literally, the bear killed its best friend and got onto the trail the next day and killed this bear one on one. They're in Colorado. It was like they don't have fencing property. This was like they have huge acres. They have some kill pigs. They hunt pigs.
And one thing I will say in regards to animals going up against wild animals, in regards to a lot of different stories in regards to dogs fighting wild animals, like a dog killing a wolf out in the wild, one thing most people need to understand is opportunity. Now, a dog can kill a mountain lion, a dog can kill a bear, but at the same time, those animals could also get it. It's really like a martial artist perspective on it. Whoever gets first strike is usually going to be the one that's going to be victorious. So if a Presa with their bite force goes and latches onto a bear's neck before the bear can go and get a chance to get on it, that bear's going to be fucked, which I'm pretty sure might be the case with that. That Presa went in fast, went in hard, and took his ass by surprise.
Yeah, so it was so my client had actually shown me the video. It was a terrible video, like vertically done. It was grainy as oil. I did post it on one of my shorts. Yeah, basically. So so the Presa before had treated the bear. I guess that's what it's called when the bear goes up the tree.
Yeah, when he goes
I was
up and
scared.
runs
Like,
up it.
yeah. So this is when the Presa or our Presa that went to my client, and my client also had a pit bull. And they have like 7 classes of pit bull. I don't know what the
Yeah,
hell.
they have their baying dogs. The pit bull was probably their baying dog, or one of their catchers as well.
Yeah. So basically that bear, and this was one on one because that pit bull took off. Presa wasn't around. The pit bull took off, and like you said, like who knows who got who first, but the bear shredded that thing. And so my
Yep.
client tells me the story, and so I'm basically recalling it, from him. So Presa catches onto him the next day, finds the body. He's there with the Presa, catches onto the scent. He says that my Presa let out this like heart wrenching like howl, like he was broken hearted that his best friend was just demolished. So he caught onto the bear's track, took off, and yeah, he couldn't catch up with the Presa. So Presa comes back all score up. Like he was like, "We're going to the vet," and immediately, so he got him all stitched up. He was all tore back, and they got him back to the house. He goes out there now with his rifle, and the Presa picks up back up on the bear scent, goes over there, and my client said, "Holy shit! Like this is he killed a bear.
Yeah,
He killed that thing one on one.
definitely
It
something
was
that'll
nuts."
catch somebody by surprise. Holy crap, did my dog do that?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's nothing that like it's nothing to be like, wow, like this is great. I want to brag about this, but we have to talk about the power of
Yeah,
these dogs, and
exactly.
that's what they were doing in Spain. Like literally, like these farmers and these people that owned a big property, and that's when I was there. Like that's what they were doing. That's what the dogs were there doing. If the dog didn't know you, or this animal wasn't brought in with the farmer or the person who owned the land,
You were a
that
threat.
thing's like, yeah, that thing's like, you're liable to die. So you don't just go into people's land. You don't, if they're stray dogs, sayonara.
One
Like,
thing I will
because,
say on that specific note, a lot
mm,
of people over here in the US tend to humanize a lot of our animals, which is why our animals, in terms of
right,
workability, don't usually, and I'm saying usually because there's the people that over here that they breed specifically for drive and people who train to bring out workability,
right,
but we don't do the same things with our dogs that people over there in Europe and all those other countries do with their dogs.
yeah,
Like with in Spain with the Presas, just like over there in Turkey with the Malaklis. If they have these dogs out there for working purposes, these dogs don't eat, they don't get to sleep or do anything outside of working. They don't eat if they don't work, and if they don't work, then they're going to starve, and then it's more or less survival of the fittest at that point,
right,
because they're only going to be breeding the strongest, the ones that they know are going to be the best guardians with their main females, so that way they can keep that workability going. They
yeah,
look at animals more or less as tools versus as canine companions like how we do with our dogs.
right. No, and I totally get it. And so it's been an eye opener recently. And we've had our YouTube channel for quite a number of years, but honestly, I've kind of just been really few and far in between all the videos. But like I've been doing a lot of short videos just because I can just upload it from my phone. You get the behind the scenes stuff. I don't have to edit it. I mean, if I'm literally like, I can't even show you how big my monitor is. Like I have editing tools galore. I have cameras galore. I have like probably like 35 grand in
I've
camera
seen your
equipment. Like
studio. You sent me a
it's
picture of your little studio section. That's the dream
so
right there, man. To have
it's
that
it's
little section of my house with just cameras, a green screen, some lights. Oh man,
Oh,
bro.
dude, it's nuts. And so, like, Bane currently is banned from my office. We're in my office right now, and it's just because it's like they get gander. Well, it's not just Bane, but it's Bane, Negra, Bruja, Raven. They're all banned from this room right now because I just cleaned it. I'm like, No, I want to see it. I want to
Yeah.
keep it at least a few days without like dog hair
At least try to have the
and
willpower to not let them in.
yeah. Oh, dude, my windowsill. I'm like looking around. It's scratched to bits because they get on. They're like, I'm gonna kill you. What's going on out there? Because
Yep.
you know, like they don't have a. I feel terrible for them. Like we're like, oh, we gotta get another house for the dogs. Because like that's just like how we think. Like because they don't have anything to want to like hunt for. Like there's nothing. There's no property line that they can protect. Because it's all wooden fence. This wooden fence is like literally like 7 feet high. It's nuts, and
Yeah.
we have to watch it because they'll just bust through the boards
Yeah.
and
It
like
may be high, but also it's wood.
yeah,
So,
it's
and if they
stellar.
don't bust through
Exactly.
that, they'll chew their way through that.
Oh my god, dude! Like Negative takes
Yep.
parts of the fence off. I'm like, dude, like stop! Like it's nuts. If you go into my backyard, there's bite marks everywhere. She's taking chunks out of the wood. I'm like, oh my god. Anyway, so that's what we need. We need a few acres so and gated properly to where they can have like a job again, a proper job all the time again, because they're
Yep.
like yeah, they're working dogs, and my dogs are working dogs, and so honestly, I feel terrible for them because this is it right now, as of right now. For this home is like the window, like that's when it's like oh, I'm focused. Anything that comes by, I'm on it. They hear
I
trucks, they
see
hear
you.
dude, yes, they hear the garbage people. Oh, nobody could be in the room that day. They can't be in here when I know it's that morning. They all have to be put away because they'll break the goddamn window. Forget about it. I
Yep.
can't do it. So it is a big difference. And sorry, what I was getting to is that what to your point of that people don't understand what working dogs are nowadays. Like literally, I just posted up one of my videos and the title is hold on, I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now because I've been talking about it with you. Okay, so it's the title is All My Babies Going Outside to Use the Restroom. Early house training on Presa Canario problem, right? I can't see the rest of the title.
Yeah.
That's what the title is, okay? And they were about 7 weeks old. They had all gotten their ears cropped, right? And so now they're in bandages. The amount of horrible comments I had, like literally 3 minutes ago, ear butchering still going on with some emoji, right? Like they have
Yeah.
no clue
Man.
what the hell this is even for, but they're like
Yep.
ears butchering, animal abuse. This, I mean,
You
you may
monster.
have to censor that
Like
out,
your
by the way.
ears cut like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that too. I'm like,
Hey,
yeah,
if I
like
was going to be doing the same type
oh,
of things to the capacity that they were doing it, I would expect that whoever owns me to cut my ears like that. You know what
exactly,
I mean?
exactly. Like people don't understand. Like you avoid hematomas. It can get caught up in brush, right? And the brush, like the last thing is like,
Yeah,
oh,
it
they're
would
coming
tear it
back.
off.
Yeah, their ears are just bleeding to bits, or God forbid, it gets stuck in something, and now they're screaming for their life. But dude, that's a lot. Like, you care about your dog? You want them
Yep.
screaming for their life,
I got a
or
good
what if they're
rebuttal
actually
on
being
that
hurt?
as well. So people want to sit here and call you a monster for cropping and docking your dog's ears, but think about this: circumcision still goes on every
Right,
time a child is born. There's a chance that the
right,
male is going to get circumcised. Are you
exactly.
circumcised? Do you have your
Uh,
kids circumcised? Oh, you're a
yeah, yeah,
monster
yeah.
for circumcising your
Right,
child. But
of
it's
course,
cleaner. It makes it a lot cleaner. It makes it a lot easier for them to maintain, less prone to infections down there.
exactly.
You know what I mean? There's
And
benefit to
this
doing
is
it.
out of all races. So
Yeah,
nowadays, these social justice warriors are like, oh, this race, that race. You know how many different races get that done? Like, I'm done.
yeah,
My kid's done. And it's like, I definitely most Jews are done. A lot of the black community, they're done.
yeah.
Um, Caucasians,
If you're
they're done.
Jewish, you for sure have your,
Oh,
you for sure have it.
it's done. It's done.
You know what I mean?
And
And
guess
you're taken
what?
care of.
Guess what? You're all bad moms for doing that because you ripped the child. You rip the
Yeah.
child away from
Oh,
the
you don't
mother.
breastfeed? Oh, you're horrible for subjecting your child to all those chemicals and all that.
Oh man, dude, it's
You didn't
nuts.
adopt your dog? Oh, you're horrible for not getting a dog out of a shelter.
And as a
Anytime
baby,
that anyone focuses on what everyone else is thinking,
right,
they're less focused on what they need to be doing for their dog and
right,
focusing on their goals for why they got the dog in the first place. If you got a dog for show purposes and the show standard says that this dog needs to have its ears cropped, its tail docked, then guess what? If you take it to a show and they're not one of the shows that are lenient on that, you're going to get
right.
points docked on that, and no matter how good your dog is, it'll never
Exactly.
beat the dog that matches the breeding standard accurately.
100%. 100%. And that's for the show. And then people
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, well, in my country." Well, in my country, I can't drive on the left side of the road
Yep.
because it's illegal. It's the same thing. Like there's, you know, we have different laws and different standards for a reason. Like hell,
As well as for
in my
different
state,
registries.
yeah, in
So
my
even that,
state, it was
my
it was
country doesn't
illegal.
do that. Well, what's the registry for your country? What's
Sure.
your country's breeding standard for this breed? Now,
Right.
let's take the UKC, since I know that your dogs are also registered for UKC.
Mhm.
I specifically looked up this detail for the AKC and the UKC. Now, AKC, as we know, just barely got their recognition where you can actually go and get the dogs registered as an AKC dog, but the AKC still has the origins for the dog and what they prefer the breeding standard to be. But
Right.
UKC's breeding standard calls that the ears be cropped or uncropped, and
Right.
there's not going to be any faults on that because, as you know, now cropping the ears and I believe no, it's just cropping the ears because docking only requires the rubber bands. But cropping the ears in the UK is now illegal. So if you want to get a dog in the UK that has cropped ears, you have to get it imported with its ears already cropped in the
Right.
country that you got it from,
Right.
or
Yeah.
take the dog out of that country to a place where it you can get it performed, and
Right.
then you're good. But if
Exactly.
they find out that you cropped your dog's ears while it's in the UK,
Oh
you're
yeah.
going to jail.
Yeah. 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 Big time.
It's not even a ticket. Your ass is going to jail.
Big time. Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's it's silly, but but it is the way what it is. And I mean, look, I know for this how it is. For the longest time, I was I wasn't one of these who were like, oh, okay, great, like here's my dog, I'll be back in whatever 2 hours,
Yep.
and then my dog's done. No, no, no. I would be sitting across from the bed or having a conversation while they're doing the ears. Okay, it is gnarly as all hell. Like, yeah, like I'm not one to like be like, oh wow, this is great. Like I'm real like light on the stomach to surgeries, right? But the
Yep.
bottom line is the dog is not out. The dog, it's like
Yeah.
literally like a general surgery for a human, you know. And if it's done right, they're not going to really feel anything. They will get painkillers afterwards. They will get antibiotics. While the procedure is happening, they shouldn't feel anything. And if they do, because certain dogs have different amounts of tolerance
Pain
to
tolerance.
yeah to pain and to anesthesia.
Yep.
So because of that, they can't just give them an infinite amount of anesthesia. It has to be by the
That's
way.
why
You
they
kill
a
it.
lot of the
You
times,
kill a
like
person or
even
a
with
dog.
my guy that crops ears, he'll say beforehand he needs to know the exact weight of the dog either hours beforehand or the day beforehand, and then you can't feed the dog or give the dog any water before the ears are cropped because he needs to
Right.
make sure that he gets the amount of anesthesia that he uses right to the perfect percentage so that way he
Yeah.
minimizes the risk of anything potentially going wrong.
Yeah. We
You
won't
can't
talk about
eyeball
it.
these
We,
things.
we won't talk about it live here, but I do have a really great clinic that I'll throw your way in case like you needed one. Because now we're both in Texas.
Hmm.
We've had to source different companies to do this stuff. So the one I just found is fantastic. The ones that I'm referring to in the video were all done by this company, and the best surgeries yet. I mean, my God, like they were doing great instant. A lot of times the ones I would use, it was like they're real lethargic. You know they have a lot of drugs in them. And it's definitely, it's this is what they call, what doctors do, practicing medicine. It's a practice, and sometimes
Yep.
you're not going to, get it on point. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's just how it is. But yeah, it's
All the
the
time
way
isn't going to be
the deal is.
100%.
Hmm. Exactly. Hell, you can go into the doctor's office or something, and you're dead. So it happens, and it's happened to us once. We lost a pup once, but the guy didn't know what the hell he was doing. I didn't know that he didn't know what the hell he was doing. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, we were brokenhearted. Like, you know, I mean, and everybody's different with dogs too. This is kind of like a side note, but like we're definitely very in tune with all of our dogs. So like when we have them, they each and every one of them means something to us. And it's a lot of people be smart asses and they're like, oh, it's because of the money you're making from them. It's like it's also a life, and like to not. And this is why I'm ripping open placentas because I don't have to be there. I'm like sometimes I've been up so long nurturing the female and watching the timing of the pups because literally we're writing them down because like if they're in that canal for so long, like they're if the placenta was ripped open, like they can die from suffocation, right? So we
Yeah.
have to get them up on a time schedule. Anyways, by the time she's finished with all the litter, man, I'm like my brain isn't even working right. I'm so tired from one the stress and from being up for so long. I'm like Jesus Christ, dude. I'm like I'm dying here. Like get these pups, like get them out, So we'll
Yep.
move their
Tag
girl
me out
around. Yeah, it's a life, man. And like to lose any of them, it's just like Jesus Christ. Like what could I have done differently,
to
to
try to
maybe,
prevent this.
yeah, yeah. So in all my time, we've definitely improved. I've always been very good at this, but we've improved.
You're always going to deal with some sense of loss in terms of your dogs. So
Yeah,
whether it's losing your dogs that you've had for many years after the time, because all life dies at some point.
right,
Now, we don't know
right,
exactly when our ticket's going to get punched, but especially since we love these dogs and we know that they live shorter lifespans than us, it's always something, and especially for all you future breeders that are watching this or people that have wanted to get into breeding, this is
right,
something that you need to deal with and learn to get accustomed to. Death is going to be something that you're going to be accustomed to more than once in one way or another, whether it's you're sending a dog off in the best intention to go to a home that turns out
right,
to be a horror story like I'm sure that you've dealt with and that I would like to ask you about in a little bit,
right,
or whether it's sudden death syndrome with your puppies that are just born. Some puppies don't end up getting enough nutrients and they end up passing from that. Sometimes mom does selective breeding or selective feeding where she just won't allow a certain puppy to get any milk or to feed, or it's other different variables that happen in between. So
Okay,
you have to
so
make sure, is this something you want to really deal with when you
yeah,
decide that I'm a breed a dog?
definitely. So that being said, so for me personally, just because of how on it I am with the dogs, I've never had a dog die from the malnutrition or from being ignored. Just because I make sure she's fed up like to the highest extreme. So her nutrient level is super high. Thus shall pass it on to the pups. And then secondly, I'm giving her those pups one by one after we send them out. So one, she'll be cleaning them, and secondly, like I will put them down and watching their attachment to make sure that they're on there.
And you see
And
that
so, and
she's
all,
bonding with them and how she
yeah,
develops that connection with
exactly. So
each
when
individual.
she comes back in, I'm like I'm putting the pup up like this pretty much, and she's cleaning it because like a lot of people don't
Yeah.
realize like for the first 12ish days, essentially until they open their eyes, they can't shiver, meaning they can't generate their own warmth. Like so, if they're cold, they're gonna die. Like,
Yep.
and if they're too hot, they're gonna die. Right? It's better that they're a little bit more warm for sure because they can't shiver.
Yep.
Um, and and what else?
One thing I
I
will
mean,
say
there's
though,
a bunch of
while you're thinking of that, is that just the fact that you're able to take the puppies away from the mom after she had that goes and speaks volumes. That's one thing that I've had a conversation about with one of these guys that I was in the process of partnering with who breeds Borbals. And this guy was constantly coming to me for advice on his litter, what he should do. I was telling him a lot of stuff and telling him that as soon as she has the litter, you have to make sure that you still keep that bond with her, but also still assert yourself as the alpha. So make sure that you're petting her, bonding with her, touching and interacting with the puppies while still praising her, letting her know that she did a good job. Because the moment you stop and that you don't give her that you don't show her that, and that you don't establish yourself as like, hey, I know you had these puppies, you're very more defensive, but I'm still up here in the totem pole and you're still right here. She would get really territorial with him. She would growl at him when he would go and try to take the puppies away to go and make sure that others would feed. She snapped at his wife a couple of times. So I told him, hey, are you doing A, B, and C? Oh, well, we're doing B, sometimes A, but we haven't started doing C yet. And then come to find out that they lost a couple of puppies. Wife got bit by the female. So at that point, it's
I
like,
would have.
hey,
Yeah, no. If that was one of my partners, I'd have been like, dude, never again are we having pups. Like, enjoy what you got here, because this will never happen again. Because
yeah,
that
it
shows
wasn't
me.
even my dogs associated with him. He wanted to start a partnership where I start working his dogs and training his dogs, and I give him some advice here and there in terms of his breeding and what to do right. So I told him, yeah, I'm
That
okay
shows
with
their
that,
relationship
but
is
just right
sour.
then and there, that.
Sour, sour, sour,
Yeah,
sour. She doesn't trust him or the wife or that whole situation, that family setting. There's something off there. I've never had that issue.
exactly.
And my
Neither
dogs,
have I.
oh my God, dude, like some of my girls, they are terrifying. They are absolutely terrifying. Like they go out to stalk the yard, dude. You can pretty much see daggers in their eyes. They're so goddamn scary. It's insane. Like people will see them and they're like, "Oh, that's a big boy." I'm like, dude, that's not a boy. That's a female. They're even worse.
Yeah. Hey, I
Um,
get that with Mary all the time because of how huge she is. Oh, that's a huge male. How old is he? She is a year
yeah,
old. Oh,
yeah.
she's only one? That's a girl? What?
You know what?
Yeah, man.
Try walking her with a pink collar. See if that changes.
Oh, I
I
do.
guarantee.
Believe me,
Yeah,
I still do. I have a big,
yeah,
bright pink, hot pink collar that I
yeah,
use for her, that I use for Morticia and for Mika. And people will still be like, oh, that male's big.
yeah.
So it's
That's
like
funny.
they either think that I'm like that with the pink, or
Yeah.
they think something, but they don't think that she herself is a female. It's hilarious. But
Um,
also, I'm
yeah,
glad that you said that they had a sour relationship with their dog, and that something weird had to go on because with the last litter that I bred of pit bulls, I would go and sleep in the kennel with the mom and
yeah,
the puppies, and she wouldn't
yeah.
growl. Even to this day, when I would
Exactly.
go over there to where she's at with my father now, with a lot of the puppies that we kept and the one that we got returned back because the owners, irresponsible owners, they got the dog. It was a female couple. They went, both of them were in college, and as soon as COVID hit, they started joining the bandwagon of people thinking that, oh, we can just stop paying rent just because we can say that we have
Right.
COVID. Yeah, tell that to a landlord that cares because they got
Right.
evicted after they refused to pay rent. They had to go their separate ways. They decided to split, and both didn't want to take the dog, saying that, oh, well, wherever we're going said we can't have the dog, so here's the dog back. And we told them that if for some reason that you can't keep the dog, give it back to us. We don't want the dog going to a pound.
Yeah.
So ever since then, we got the dog. But even then, they said, oh, well, when in the event that something changes and we can get the dog back, we'll try to. But it's been years since 2020, four
Oh
years, and
yeah.
they
No,
haven't even
no.
tried.
If somebody relinquishes the dog,
Yeah,
like
they
you're
don't
in
care what
such
happens
a
to it afterwards.
no, and you're in such a bad state of life. Like if no, God, no. For me, no. One, we sell them at such a damn high price. They're gonna go out of their way to be like, oh yeah, no, like I'm going to, do something. And if they can afford what we're selling for, like they got their they got their life together. Okay, and
Yep.
secondly, you can work out with your dog. For me, there's no take backsies. I could easily resell that
You have
dog,
contracts
but
with your dogs,
I
right?
don't, yeah, but I don't have the
Exactly.
facilities to be able to like. I have a home. I don't have like a kennel. I could just throw them in. And do I have four other dogs? And well, he's got to
Yep.
get he or she's got to get along with them. Like, no, dude. Like I'm not doing that.
Plus, you have
So
dominant dogs. So
yeah,
if these dogs that you're taking in have dominant personalities and they want to clash with
right,
the dogs that you have, then it's a
right.
liability risk to what you already got going on.
So that's the double-edged sword of what I have and the working because they're
Yep.
all of them show quality code, all of them. But even my sweetest one, Raven, she fought with Bane. Like
Yeah.
she fought with Bane. Like Bane
Raven's
fought
my
with her.
favorite. Raven's
She's
my
amazing,
favorite
dude.
little pretty
She
princess.
she fought with Bane. Bane fought with her before. They're just like, oh, we're just and because their personalities are so strong and they're both sweet dogs, but they both have that, eye on the prize. They're just like ready to kill when either of them have a bad look to each other. They're like, oh, we'll just fight. We'll just
For
hash
those
this
who
out.
don't know, Raven is one of his beautiful black presses that he has in his program. You can find pictures of her on his Instagram at Socal Presa, as well as on his webpage at SocalPresa.com. So make sure that you give that a check out too, so that way you can see some of the amazing dogs that he has in his program.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. They can see loads of that stuff on our website. We try to have everybody take their time and view all the stuff on our website because I don't talk about other breeders um, like at least bad wise. I mean, I don't talk about other breeders
Yeah,
period. If you're gonna ask me about another breeder directly, you're asking the wrong person. Other breeders, I'm sure, will love to just talk crap about each other all day long because like
they
that's
don't
an
talk
easy
one
way to
another
sell
to make
dogs.
themselves look better.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like you call me, oh yeah, I got the best dogs in the world. Um, oh yeah, you like him from this breeder? He's a piece of crap. Oh, this breeder, piece of crap. This person, crap. Everybody's
Yep.
garbage except me. I'm the best in the entire planet. Like, and that's literally everybody's go-to get down on how to sell dogs. That's not my get down. Like, for me, you have to make your own observations. You go to my website, you figure that out on your own. If you like what we do, you go with us. If you don't, you don't. That's okay with me. I could really care less.
I'm
All
glad
I
that you
want,
said that also, man. As you specifically
sure.
said that, I couldn't have said it better, and that actually brings me to how I started with Corsos in terms of my breeding program. Because I believe I told you this story about when I first decided which one I wanted, because I was on the fence of whether I was going to get a Presa first or a Corso, and the two
Yep.
breeders that I was talking about, I wanted to see how they actually were about whether they were actually going to be professional about that and if they were going to start bad mouthing the opposite breed. I told
Yeah.
the other person that I was talking to another breeder of the opposite breed. I told the Corso breeder I was considering getting a Presa and vice
Yeah.
versa. The Corso owner said, oh, well, if that's something that you're interested in and you know that that's the type of dog you're looking for, then that would be better for you. But I personally love the Corsos more, and this is
Right.
why I love it. When I told that to the Presa guy, he
Right.
started going, oh, well, in my experiences, every corso that I've seen has always had a temperament problem, has attacked the owner, and Presas, in my opinion, are the best dogs, more defendable, can do this and that. I wouldn't get a corso to if someone paid me and gave me the dog for free. So that in
Right.
itself showed me, okay, well, I see how you move and the lane that you're going. I don't necessarily like that type of professional outlook on that. I liked that the woman, she understood and she was more, hey, make sure you're getting what's right for you. My dog, and this is something that I adopted from that
Right.
philosophy. My dogs may not be the best dogs in the world, but when I interview you, I'm going to try to give the best dog in the world for you that's right for you. If you tell me
That's
that
a
you
really
can
good
only
point.
do A, B, and C, I want to give you a dog that can do A, B, and C. If you're looking for a dog that can do X, Y, Z, let me make sure that the dog that I'm going to give you can do X, Y, Z without fail. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there with the dog unsatisfied, and then you're going to take that unsatisfaction out on the dog. Now, whether like if
Right.
it's someone who gets the dog from you and they don't tell you what they're looking for, like the great many of people, they only get a dog because it looks cool. They wanted a dog like that because it's a cool dog. It's big and imposing. But does that dog match the lifestyle that you lead? Can that dog match your physical daily activities? Can you match that dog's daily physical activities? And if you get a dog that isn't this big, beautiful dog, if it's a big puppy but it doesn't grow to the size of its siblings, now you're looking at that dog like, oh yeah, I like you, but you're not what I wanted, so I'm not going to give you that type of affection as I would if you were exactly what I was looking for.
Right. Yeah, and that is a big problem with the breeding in general, is that
Mm-hmm.
you have to weed out people like crazy. I mean, at least I do. I
Oh,
do
you
that.
definitely do.
You know,
With the dog breed that you have, you most definitely got to do that.
you know, it's like I tell people, it's not hard for me to sell a dog. It's hard for me to sell the dog to the right people. That is the thing that I have to then do, figuring out, this person who I'm talking to for a finite amount of time, and to understand their desires and the possible outcome that this dog is going to have. Because I haven't done all this for such a long period of time to get him in some idiot's hands who's going to do them injustice. Now, there's been times that it's happened, and it's not necessarily of like, it was, I can definitely say this, it wasn't predicted by that owner, because they tried their hardest. They just didn't realize that what they
Mm-hmm.
were doing, because they weren't a trainer of any sorts, they didn't realize the impact that what they were putting that dog through was going to have that outcome that happened. And now they got stuck with something that they can't trust anymore, because the thing doesn't trust them. And it's just a whole spinning cycle of chaos.
Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely tricky to sell them to the right people. But this is yet another reason why I do the advanced reservations on the site, so I can get these people on board early. And if anything in the meanwhile that comes up from that person in
They can
conversations,
let you know, like, hey, life happened. I can't get the dog on this
yeah,
litter. Can I put that deposit towards a
right,
future litter?
exactly,
So
exactly,
while we're
100%.
still on this topic, that's one thing I want to lead into. So what exactly is your vetting process in terms of when someone is serious about getting a puppy from you and they're at the point where they have the money to put towards it? What is your process for making sure that this person is right for your dogs and that the dog that you're getting is right for that person?
So I don't want to give away all my secrets publicly, because one,
What you can talk about?
yeah, no, of course. So because one, like, if I let people know how it's done, how I do it,
They're gonna
one,
learn
I'm giving,
exactly what to say when they talk to you.
yeah. So
But
I
just
don't,
as a good
exactly,
general rule of thumb
exactly,
for a new breeder
yeah.
that might be starting out, like something that they should keep in mind. So not
Okay,
necessarily what
so,
you specifically do to make sure that this person is right, but just as a good
yeah.
general rule of thumb.
Well, first and foremost, people get into breeding because they're like, quick money, no problem. But it's not like that. Let me just tell you, it's not like that. And this is something, honestly, you may want to put into a short, okay? Like, breeding is not an easy thing whatsoever. People are like, oh, quick money. The person that I got this dog from, he charged me X amount of cash, into the thousands, into hundreds or the thousands of dollars. Cool. I can have, oh, how many pups come into a litter? 10? That's that much times 10. Great business, no problem. So here's my business. Here's my tactics. Reputable breeder number one, I get a female reputable breeder number two, I get a male. Smash them together. My business gets born. Great. And fourth, I'm making an abundance of cash. Incorrect. What's going
Wrong,
to happen is this:
wrong, wrong,
nobody
wrong.
knows you. Exactly. Nobody knows you. You're a nobody. Okay. You have two
Yeah.
dogs with papers. Big deal. You're a nobody. Nobody trusts you. You have no reputation. Now you need to market you need to photograph, you need to videotape, you need to establish some type of rapport in the community. Period. List goes on. This is literally like a small business, but worse. It is a small business, but worse. Why? Because your product is finite as far as the amount of time that people want it. People don't want an older dog generally unless they have ulterior motives, like,
Yep.
oh, I want this older dog to breed it. Great, you just
Exactly.
bred a dog just to breed it. Now
Like
you're
if
going
you're
to have that
also a
dog.
breeder and you want to add to breeding stock and you don't want to
Right.
wait the puppy years, but you
Bingo.
want to get it at an age that you can still develop a bond. Typically, people will get a
Right.
dog like that at around 6 months old, 6 to 8 months, because it might not have already had its first heat cycle, but it's
Yeah.
still old enough that you can teach it something before you get there and get the bond
Yeah.
going. But
So,
also,
and,
in
and
part of
the,
the do's and don'ts, real quick, of breeding, don't be one of those people that are curtailing on the work of someone else. If you're getting a dog from A breeder and B breeder to get your
right.
C generation and start your stuff, when you're marketing your dogs, the puppies from that litter, make sure it's from the effort that you are directly putting into your dog. If you're trying to bank on the dog's generation and their pedigree, don't sit here trying to charge $10,000 like what they do with the Frenchies. Unknown
Right.
breeders all over. Oh, this puppy right here, 10,000
Yeah.
for it because mom, dad is a champion, all this and that, great great granddaddy. But what has your dog done? That's
Exactly.
what I want to
No,
know.
I've seen it. It's nonsense. The dog game has always been ridiculous, and which is why from the very beginning I've always figured, let me just analyze what the best of are doing from the information from my mentor and just create my own program. That's what I've always done. Period. And that's what I started with. That's what I'll end with. End of story. Like I haven't ever followed anybody else's thing because I've never seen one thing that I've liked. And so which is why I've always done my own version of how I want to breed. And again, I'm not hating on anybody else. Like everybody could do it however the hell they want. I could care less.
Yep.
But it is very unique the way we're doing it, period.
Yeah,
Um,
most
and so
definitely. I see all the
my
comments. I've seen your. If anybody seeing this hasn't checked out also his Yelp page, my boy right here has a Yelp page that is written on by a lot of the clients that have had successful dogs from him, and they just want to let everyone else know who might be getting a dog from him. Hey, we got a dog from this guy. We are real people, and we loved this dog that we got from him. And that goes
yeah,
to show the effort that you're putting into your brand as well as the quality you're trying to produce. You're not just trying to sit here and go money, money, money. You want to make sure that these dogs have the best possible life that they could have as well. And that's a very commendable thing.
yep. So I do have our reviews on our website that our clients can post. Secondly is Google reviews, and maybe and third I think Yelp. But those two definitely the highest is one. Like we were getting them from our Google, but then Google's um, filtering out reviews. I'm like, what? Like this guy literally shot like he wrote me a 2-page review. I'm like, dude, this is huge. And I look, I'm like, hey, I don't see it. So I'm like, oh, screw this. Google's filtering my reviews. I'm like, dude,
A
like
lot of
I,
the
I'm
time,
not a
also, it could be because either someone reports it because they don't want you to get that type of
no,
recognition,
no, no,
or
no,
it
no, no,
talks
no,
about maybe the dog biting or doing some type of
no,
real thing. Oh, nothing
no,
even on
dude.
that?
No, I read the whole thing and I look, a lot of people have this issue. It's
Ah,
totally clean. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, I don't sell like $1.99 tacos here. This is like at
yeah.
the time, like they were $5,000 dogs. Like that was at the time. Like I don't even sell them for 5 grand anymore. Like at the time, 5 grand. Like I don't have 1,000 reviews, and I breed very infrequently. So it's like these are gold to me. So I'm like, okay, screw this. I opened it up on the reviews on our website, and like I would suggest the same for yourself, just because you will see what I'm talking about. No,
Yep.
Google will just bypass things like, but God forbid, like you get a negative review. Oh, that's going
Oh
on
yeah.
there like
I will
that.
say
I
though,
mean,
that
like,
is a good way to just sneak in a new business when you got a client there coming to pick up a dog at the homestead. You're like, hey, so before you leave, I just want to let you know I got these $1.99 tacos. Really good. I mean, you
Yeah, no
must be
kidding,
hungry.
right?
How far did you drive? Oh, I can't let you leave on an empty stomach. You gotta buy at least two, maybe
Yeah,
three.
yeah,
Here,
yeah.
come on. Here, I'll just send you the money request on
Yeah,
Venmo.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
pay me when you get home, but
Yeah,
just
you
make
get a
sure that you
free
get it right
taco if
now.
you leave me a review right
Yeah,
now,
just don't even give them the
dude.
chance to say no to the
Yeah,
tacos, and then now you
yeah.
got gas money.
Everybody loves tacos, man. Everybody loves them. So yeah, you
Hey,
can't
who
lose there.
doesn't love tacos? A good taco will definitely be like, all right, yeah. Then you'll have people right there like, oh yeah, his dogs are amazing, but the
Yeah,
tacos,
yeah, yeah.
that's what really brought the impression on.
I yeah came for the dog, fell in love with the tacos.
Exactly. Oh my God. They're like, hey, that
Um,
sauce that they put. Oh man, I've been
yeah,
thinking
yeah.
about that. Oh, the dog's amazing too. It does exactly what I wanted. But damn, that sauce.
Hey, brother. I just want to let you know on a side note, man. I'm really happy that you started this podcast. I know we've been kind of chatting for a good amount of time here, but the main thing is like that you're really really smart when it comes to training dogs to having dogs fit a bunch of different people's lives. And I know that the way you're looking to put this out there and just these talks, these real, because I've been interviewed before,
Hmm.
and these channels are really big, and this is your first video, which is awesome, right? So the thing is by you keeping it real and just having these casual conversations, it should impact once it starts getting a lot of trend to the community who really wants to hear this stuff because these conversations are few and far in between. And I know because I'm in the training world just as much as I'm in the Presa world. I just it's been tainted quite a bit, man, by business sense. People want to
Yep.
show a certain side of it just so I can get them clicks. Just so I can get a ton of views and make money from videos. But really, in the end, I mean, if you're just showcasing what people are doing in their own program, it's going to go really far, in itself. So, thank you, man. I hope this really goes a long way for you because I have a lot of faith in what you're able to do. So, thank you for the
Yeah, I
opportunity,
really
man.
appreciate
Personally,
that, man, and I really
absolutely.
appreciate you taking the time to come out here and talk with us, to set aside the time. And I know you're a very busy man, not only with the dogs that you have, but I believe you have a litter that's upcoming too, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I do have a litter next month coming. It is from Toro and Morticia, not your Morticia.
Yeah,
Yeah, not your
not my
Morticia,
Morticia,
but
your
a different
Morticia.
Morticia. Yeah.
There we go.
So we do have those two coming up. They are available for reservation on our website, SocalPresa.com. If you're looking at some of our social media online, you can look at our YouTube channel. Everything is at SocalPresa. So
Pricing
YouTube,
as well is
Instagram.
also on the website as well.
Yep,
So
pricing does change. And so take your time, look at all of our stuff. We get a lot of contacts on all these channels. So don't contact me for any random question look on there, take your time. This is why I built a website, like so all your questions can be answered. And if you're coming
and
to me
also
for the lazy
remember,
stuff,
dogs and puppies for reservation and for purchase are first come, first serve. If you're waiting looking for a deal
exactly.
on a certain litter, don't wait too long to pull the trigger because you might be waiting too long and one day too long and then the puppy that might have went on sale already got picked up for the person that's willing to pay the right price that he asks for. And
100%.
that's one thing I will like to finish this conversation on before we do our final concluding thoughts. When any breeder takes the time to go and breed any dog that they're going to produce, regardless of what the lineage is, regardless of what their hopes are for the dog, whatever price they're willing to settle on that they want for these dogs, that shouldn't be something that you should try to debate or question because you have to understand that there's costs to breeding that you have to take on. Vet bills for mom, vet bills for the puppies, shots, food. So you want to make sure that if someone tells you like whatever price you're deciding for these puppies, if you're looking at any of these litters that he has available now or upcoming, or any breeder for that fact, if they want 5,000 for a puppy, 10,000 for a puppy, now you are not obligated to pay for that dog. But contrary wise, they are not obligated to sell you that dog for anything less than what they want for that dog. So if you know that a dog is outside of your price range, or you want to inquire about a dog, and that's the first thing that's your major thing that you're worried about, do your research on any dog breed that you're interested in, seeing what they typically go for, then talk to the breeders. Build a relationship with any breeder that you are actually going to potentially go and get a dog from. Know the person you're getting your animal from. Get a good vibe for them, but don't try to dance around the topic. If one of the main things that you're going to try to talk about and that is your concern with these dogs, don't sweet talk to people. Ask them right then and there early on, hey, I'm interested in a dog from you. What typically is the price range that you charge for a dog? Now, whether it's someone like you who has everything that could be asked already answered in website form, that might not be the case for about maybe 90% of other breeders in the dog game. The 10% that you're included in are doing it right, and they have everything right there that you could possibly ask already answered. But if you're a breeder that doesn't have that, and you're not putting forth that investment, make sure that you understand, hey, I'm not talking unless you're dropping a deposit. Don't have that mentality, because that's already the wrong mentality. If someone's asking you a real fair question, what's your price range for how much you value your dogs? Be upfront and tell someone, hey, I value my dogs at X value to Y value. There is maybe some talk in between depending on what you want and what you're looking for, versus a companion dog that you're going to be on contract that as soon as it hits a certain age has to be spayed or neutered, or whether you're looking for a dog for future stock for a breeding program. Don't lie and deceive whoever you're going to get a dog from, because that also entails they have to make sure they're giving you the best possible dog for you. Don't be one of the many people that get these dogs under false pretenses, and then something bad happens, and then the dog loses its life, its freedom, and then now you look bad, and then you try to blame the person you got for the dog, but you weren't properly forthcoming with what you were going to do with the dog and what you were looking for. These are things that
Right.
really matter.
Right. And I have seen quite a variance of how people decide to price their dogs, even in the same litter. I mean, they'll, oh, whatever. And I'm referring to Presa people, like, well, okay, it's 4 grand for this one and 3 grand for this one, 25 for this one. Like, I mean, that's just everybody's got a different reasoning and whatever. We're all built differently, so
Yep.
there is not a one size fits all type of deal. So I mean, I get it. I mean, you made a lot of points there. And yeah, everybody's going to have a different pricing, and that's up to you then. And again, this is why, like, for me, and this should be for everybody. Like, if you're gonna get a dog, get it for the right reasons. Like, if you're gonna try to do
Absolutely.
a business out of it, do it in a smarter way, man. Like, hey, why don't you get with, you want to breed this person's dog? Get with that person and say, hey, I want to become a breeder for this reason, for the money, just for the money. I don't have any heart. I'm a piece of shit.
Yep.
Or hey, I want to see pups, and I want to have cash, or whatever. I want to give my kids this experience. Just be honest. And you
Yeah.
know what? And the better part of that is, like, is maybe become a satellite breeder, maybe get in business with them. If they're really that much of a reputable breeder, they're going to have an existing clientele, they're going to have an existing history, and you can jump on board their coattails. And
Yep.
don't think you're smarter than business people that have an established business. Just, you're not. It's like you're going to be doing things from ground up. It's like, are you willing to make these sacrifices that we've already been through? Like, maybe
Mm.
not. Right? Are you willing to see this stuff through? Maybe not. Maybe you are. Hell, I don't know.
Yep.
But it's like, it is very difficult, and that's just one thing I would throw out there, that because, like, man, I have, as an example, if you jump on on my Instagram page, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go to my people who follow me, and you just type in Presa, right? You're gonna see how many people pop up. They're just
Yep.
a grip of them. Like I get probably 2, 3 follows a week at least from a new kennel, brand new,
Yep.
just out of thin air. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna create a
I
kennel
feel you
like
on
all
that.
day long. So like why be such a goddamn genius? I've been around for over 20 years. If you're not a scumbag and I like you, and we have the same type of values, and you're able to do the stuff that we want to do, come talk to me. Maybe you can be a partner of ours in the future. Like I'm looking for families to keep the bloodline going. But obviously, there is a profit splitting going on. I'm not going to let you have 100% of the profits off of
Yep.
my coattails. Not happening. But
Absolutely.
I will give everything to you on a silver platter. And it's
Yep.
like then you can have your cake and eat it too. But granted, everything has to be sorted out. Now, I'm a unique breeder, so everybody's going to have their own versions. I don't breed pit bulls, I don't breed Rottweilers,
Yep. You
but
breed Mexican Canarios.
this is a general overall advice. Like, if you want to breed Rottweilers, you want to breed pit bulls. Hey, talk to the guys you are looking to do this with and collaborate. Maybe that would be a
Yep.
better way. And the reason I'm saying that is because I get called from so many people that have given away these presses, that like I get the worst of the press calls because we are like number one in a ton of places. Search engine stuff, I'm up there. I am like number one to number three. I am right there. So I get
Yep.
all the horrible calls, man.
You're right on the
And I
press.
see, dude, I see how many people give these things away, how many people have bad, the people are bad breeders and stuff. It's just a plethora of problems. Anyways, I'm just saying
Especially
overall,
when
if
they try to
anybody's
raffle off the dogs. That's the one thing that it always makes me really sad to see because if you got to raffle off a dog, like I understand certain other animals, but working dogs, they should never be raffled off because for the price that you might be paying for that ticket, yeah, you might not see the dog at all. You might just be throwing away that $40 or whatever it is. But God forbid you win and you get that dog. Are you prepared to have that kind of dog in your home? And a
right.
lot of these people, they don't know what they're getting on their hands. And if they're only willing to spend $40 towards this dog, they don't obviously have the budget that they're going to need. If $40 was what they were willing to spend, can you imagine the type of food they're going to try to feed this dog?
Dude, that's a great point. I'm literally in the
Pedigree.
Facebook of my hometown right now. Not my hometown, the town that my
The town
home
you're
is in.
currently in.
Yeah. And so the amount of people that are like, hey, I need help with bills, I need help with dog food. I'm like, is this town full of beggars? But everybody's like so stuck up, like it's insane. So I don't even understand how you have that vice versa type of thing. But yeah, dude, exactly. If you can only afford $40 for a raffle ticket, you probably can't afford dog food. You're probably like barely feeding yourself. And you're probably going to get a dog that is like way beyond your scope of knowledge. Probably not a
Yep.
good idea.
I
But
will admit,
man,
I make sure
it
that
just
my
keeps on
dogs
going.
eat even if I starve. But then again, my dogs, they have an amazing diet. So my dogs eat 3 cups for depending on their weight. They eat three in the morning, three in the afternoon. They get eggshells in it as well as an actual egg with the eggs. So
Right.
eggs that I cook for myself, I save the shells, I grind it down into a powder. I'll put a spoonful in it on top of what the egg is. So that way I make
Nice.
sure that they're getting that eggs in there. I also
Right.
put the yogurt in it. And then after I make sure I bought all of their food and their food is situated for the week, then I'll go grocery shopping for myself. So
Nice.
I make sure
Nice.
that they're situated and that they're good because I want to make sure my dogs are perfect. But then
Yeah.
again, it's also part of it. I've seen a lot of people when I go shopping for myself that they see me because when I go anywhere, I take one of my dogs with me. Doesn't matter what place I'm going, I make sure I call the manager. I let them know, hey, I'm coming with a working dog. My dog is trained. My dog is going to stay at my side, fully clipped on whether it's a service dog or not, because I do have a couple of dogs that I train for some service dog activities, but they're not registered service dogs, but they're my service dogs.
Right.
So those dogs that I take, I make sure that I let them know, okay, I'm bringing this dog. It is trained as a service dog. I have my working dog that I'm doing, or I'll tell them, hey, I'm coming and I'm bringing a dog that I'm training in for socialization. And this is part of, if you're going to do certain things like that, it's better to inform someone to let them know you're going to be there and what's going to go on. That way you're not there getting escorted out because they're assuming the worst. If you talk to certain people and you let them know what you're going to do beforehand, then at least you're giving them the opportunity to say no or to say yes. Because if, God forbid, they say no, okay, I don't go to this store, I go to a store where my dog is allowed. But if they say yes
Right.
and someone else starts complaining, you're in the good and you're in the clear no matter what happens. If someone starts going crazy and your dog gets scared and starts barking as a result of it, what you're trying to train the dog not to do, you're not in the fault in the store, and they'll kick that person out because you were given permission to be there. You
Right.
asked, you were granted permission, you are allowed to be there.
Yeah.
So these things, it all matters in terms of, like, the worst thing you could do is ask and they say no. If you ask and they're like, yeah, by all means, come in. Can I pet the dog? No, I can't pet the dog. Okay, that's fine, but at least, we know that what's going on. I've taken Goliath to five-star restaurants. He's been to Disneyland. He's been to Knott's Berry Farm. He's been on rides at these amusement parks. He's been to national museums, national parks, and he's done it all, and I let the people know before I'm getting there, so that way, especially for the restaurants, I let them know I'm coming with my dog. Can I make a reservation for a table off in the corner, away from general population? It's me, maybe, if I'm dating a girl or if I'm going with a family, I let them know how many people are coming and where I would like to be, and also if they're able to have someone who's okay with dogs in the event that certain people are allergic to dogs. I try to make sure that I work with them so they can work with me. Never go someplace and assume that you're entitled to certain benefits. Now, granted, if your dog
Right.
is a service dog, you're entitled to be able to have your dog in these places, but that's because
Yeah.
you either paid for the training or you paid to make sure that your dog was already certified and trained for that. But never
Okay.
just assume
So
that you are allowed to be in a place.
let me just add to that too. Make sure that the person you're asking isn't like a simple-minded moron, because
Yep.
there's a lot of those people out there and people that don't know what they're talking, like literally. So that just hit me. So like when we first were getting this house, we're like the loan was taking forever, right? Bane
Mhm.
came in a heat. We had rented this Airbnb for like a month, like 2 months, and it was like costing us an arm and a leg, right? So Bane come, Bane, did I say Bane came in? One of my girls came in to eat. Bane's just driving us nuts because he's like, like I want to get at that. And he's just whining and stuff. It's super obnoxious. Um, and my wife's like, okay, I can't work like with this guy here. So I'm like, okay, like, what do you want to do? She's like, I'll get a hotel, right? And I'll take Bane, right? And it'll just be me and Bane in the room. I'll be able to work. I'm like, okay, fine. So take him to the hotel. I'm walking him in, and the lady's just giving us like problems. And she's like he's a registered service dog. Oh, I need to know why and this and like they can't ask certain things. They just
They're
can't,
only
right?
allowed to ask, is the dog a service dog? What service is the
Exactly.
dog trained to perform? That's
Right.
all. Your dog doesn't
Exactly.
have
And
to have
so
vested anymore or have any service dog indicators. They're only legally allowed to ask you that question.
right, right. And dude, literally like my wife is tough as hell, right? And like just these questions were just giving my wife like the most anxiety. Like it's just like how dare you? Like you don't know the rules, lady, and you're acting like management, which you're not. You're just the check-in person who's a full-on moron. Everybody else we'd come into that wasn't this lady, no problems. They're like, oh wow, he's perfect, no problems, no problems at all. So that's something else is just like keep in mind who you're asking, because obviously like
Some people are going to
you
have
just
different opinions on what they feel is right and wrong.
they may not even know. They may not even know better, and they're just putting out just some something that they've just heard, or it seems like we were the first ones ever to bring a dog of that caliber to that hotel, at least in front of that lady.
Yep.
And
And
this
I'm
is why
glad
we're going
that
to
you
get
said that.
this.
I actually had a phone call with a police officer that while I was still in California, because there was a lot of coyotes in my parents' house area, and they killed a lot of the cats and some of my niece's cats over there. So because I let my dogs out in that area and it was in a gated place, but my dogs stayed on the property, there were certain nights when I let them out that I seen coyotes on my parents' yard where they would go, and they're trying to bait my dogs. So one thing that I
Oh
asked
yeah,
him, like, hey, if my dogs kill a coyote while they're on the property, or if they go and chase after it and they kill it, what more or less is the issue? Now, I had already read online before I even called them, but I just wanted to verify. As long as in terms of California specifically, California has the green light on all coyotes. If you see a coyote anywhere, you can kill it provided that you don't trap it or poison it. You could pull a
right,
pistol out and just shoot it in broad daylight. As long as you report the coyote afterwards, so that way the animal control can come and get it, as well as
right.
collect a saliva sample of it, because they do that to see if it had rabies and if it matches any of the people that have been bit by a coyotes. Because apparently, in terms of like the rabies vaccine for certain people, if you get bit by a coyote, you have to get the vaccine made from that specific coyote. So,
Oh, geez.
yeah. So apparently that's why they started that practice. So I already knew that before making the call, and I just wanted to hear it from them to make sure that in the event that that one of my parents' neighbors seen my dog go and just destroy a coyote, that I'm not in any hot water, even though I know that I'm in the green. So I called and they said, well, I don't think that you should be letting your dog go and attack a coyote. And if you see that there's coyotes out, you probably shouldn't let your dog out to use the restroom in a place that, or at a time that you know coyotes might be out. And I'm like, but what if they do? What if I do let them out and it's midnight or something like that and I can't see them and
Right.
coyote just appears out of the blue, out of the dark? Well, I still feel like you should be trying to take preventative measures. But if it happens, it happens. If the coyote attacks them, self-defense. But I don't feel that it's okay that you potentially allow an animal that's just trying to survive to get attacked by your dogs. And this is a police officer, mind you. I'm
Oh
asking, like,
man,
hey, is it legal if my dog does this? Can I face any legal problems? And she's sitting there trying to tell me I think, like, responses. It's like, I
nobody
don't care what
fucking
you
asked
feel,
you
what
what
you
you
think.
think.
What is the law?
Exactly. Like,
Am I in
oh
trouble or
yeah,
am I not? Am I crystal clear?
I like chocolate ice cream. I don't like vanilla.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? And like, we didn't ask for your feelings, lady. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I
hey,
mean, that's
what's going on in the
bro.
government
Just
right
look,
now? Oh,
man.
well, I think that the sea is blue because the sky is green, and the sky is green because the clouds and this and that, and global warming. You
I
know?
don't know, man. Yeah, I know. I
Like,
mean, basically, yeah, the the whole thing too is just just watch who you're asking. Know your stuff like you do,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, do your homework because all counties are going to be different. All states are going to be different depending on where you're at. I know here in this county,
As well as the
it's
jurisdictions.
yeah, it's a little different, and they're a bit more stringent, and we got to be really careful. And it's funny, like the people in that video that I was telling you about, and that video went decently viral of like dogs running through the yard. They're like, "Oh, your neighbors must hate you." Both my neighbors that are directly on the side of me, they both love me. Like they both know one of our dogs because the girls are just devils. So I'm like, they both know Bane. And we're owner, we're responsible owners. So they go into the backyard and they start barking at them. I'm like, let's go, get your asses back in the house. Like, you're done. But yeah, it
I
is
will
what
say
it
that I
is.
like that my neighbors, they at least keep to themselves. Like, I did let them know that my dogs are protection dogs. If I let my dogs out to use the restroom, don't reach over the cage trying to go and pet them. They might bite you. So I made sure to let people know that my dogs aren't going to jump over the cage,
Yeah,
but don't fuck with my dogs and agitate them and try to get them to go and mess with you. So, and
that's
I've caught one of my neighbors, I caught their kids doing that, where they see I let one of my dogs out to use the restroom, and they're sitting there running left to right, going and bobbing, throwing stuff. One of my dogs threw up one of their toys. So I had to go and show him the toy, like, hey, I'm not saying anything in particular just yet,
uh,
but your kid's toy was thrown up by my dog. Now, whether by some maybe a windstorm or something, I didn't want to just go out and be rude and say, "Hey, bro, your fucking kid threw is throwing toys at my dog and is
uh,
messing with my dog. Can you not?" I'm trying to be as respectful and not start problems, saying, "Hey, I don't know
uh,
how it happened, but your kid's toy ended up in my dog's esophagus and in their gut, and they
yeah,
threw it up."
and so that
And
that's a good one.
I've seen my dogs potentially get wild up specifically at your yard. Can you just, make sure that if you're not there watching your kids, that they're aware of not messing with my dogs and that they're not friendly dogs?
Yeah,
Some of them are friendly, but they're not friendly like that if you're just going to sit there and try to agitate them.
yeah.
Just as you
So
would not want to be agitated.
that's a good one, really quick to bring up. Um, I do have to run after this one, brother, but
Yeah.
this is like a great really quick like chapter, I guess, in the video. You can break this
Yeah,
down
this
in
is what we'll
chapters.
end it on.
Um, Neighborly etiquette, right? Like if you're gonna have a working dog, right? Like be responsible as hell. Secondly, is like give a shit about that person because literally it doesn't. People are pieces of shit, and they could really do something terrible to your dogs, and in a physical way and some other chemical way. Like who knows? People are scumbags. So like anybody who's just listening to this, be a good neighbor, dude. Like you don't have
Yep.
to love that. You don't have to love your neighbor. You don't have to be a
Or kiss their
Bible
ass.
thumper. Yeah, you don't have to do any of that. Just be a good person. Like if your dog is barking all the time, shut it the fuck up.
Yeah.
Seriously, nobody wants to hear the dogs barking all the fucking time. Like, wake up, dude. If you can hear it, other people can too. Tell it to shut the fuck up. Like seriously, um, and like be careful of like what's going on, like because you never know. Like seriously, but like your kids, throwing stuff over the fence. Like okay, like what if your dog would have choked on that? He's gonna
Yeah,
choke on a total
exactly.
car. Something stupid like that. Your kid is gonna kill my damn dog because your kid is a little idiot and it doesn't know. Kids are stupid. We were
Yep.
just having sushi last night and the kids like going, running on the seats. I'm like, dude, like
What's
I'm
wrong
not one
with
of
you?
these that. Yeah. I mean, it's a kid, but it's like, where's your parents?
Like,
Where the
why are
hell is
your
your kid?
parents allowing that?
Exactly. And dude, he did it like 3, 4 times. I'm like, dude, like you're almost ruining our dinner here. Like, really, like, come on, it's fucking obnoxious. Like,
Yep.
paying $100. Me and my wife can eat out, and we gotta watch your kid run across. It's the same shit with the dogs. It's like,
It's the lack of
except the dogs
discipline
can
in their
fight.
children, in their children's upbringing.
Right, right. And it's just the same thing with the dogs, dude. Like when I was in
Yep.
California, the last neighbors I had, it was a chain link fence, and these guys were, I mean, they were trash. They were honestly trash. I talked to the guy, but it's like he was just like so, morbidly obese. Just didn't care about himself. Didn't care about his dogs. Yard was trash. Like the dogs would just bark all the time,
Yep.
and like these dogs ended up in my yard sometimes. I'd have to put rocks in the area, but I could have killed those dogs. Seriously, if I had that type of heart, I could have killed those dogs. You
Yep.
know, most I ever did, Benadryl them, so they would shut the fuck up because they would literally like cause me anxiety. I'd get home and they're just like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh my god, you're driving me crazy. I'd Benadryl them. Like, hey,
One of
they would
for the
sleep.
people listening, one of the few human drugs that you can give a dog is Benadryl, and it works as a minor sedative to kind of get them to be drowsy, as well as helps with really bad allergy outbreaks.
Yep, 100%.
So don't think that my
My
boy right here was trying to go and poison someone's dog. He was
No,
trying to calm it down.
no. Literally, my veterinarian. I asked her about it. I'm like, it was for
What do you do?
Bane. It was like,
What can you do?
No, no, no. Yeah, no, I asked her about that, but then the reason I brought up Benadryl was for Bane. Bane was having an allergic reaction, and I'm like, hey, I'm giving this to them. I'm giving this to him, but it's not doing anything. She's like, yeah, you're doing good, but you need to give him way more. I was giving him like 2 to 3. She's like, you need like 8 or 9 for his size. I'm like 8 or 9? I'm like, she's like,
Yep.
yeah, like
Well, it's
that's
a
even
big
better.
ass dog. There's a
So
lot, like a lot of
yeah,
people think it's fat that they're work that when they do the muscle or when they do the drug dosage, it's not really your fat weight that they're worried about. It's the muscle weight because your muscles, it's gonna take a lot more
right,
potent drugs to be able to work its way through that because your muscles,
yeah. So
that's a very big
this is
thing.
from my veterinarian. My veterinarian's like, she's like, don't worry, you can't overdose him on Benadryl. You can't. She's like, worst case scenario,
Yes,
he's
the
gonna
shits
sleep.
or like a really violent or
He's gonna
really
sleep.
violent that's
She
broken
says
up.
worst case scenario, he's gonna sleep. That's it. I'm like, oh great, okay, cool. And so that's what I basically when the neighbor stuff was get out of hand, I'd be like, here's some bread, here's some Benadryl, go to sleep, go on nighttime, like all day long, dude. Like we both work from home,
Yep.
you know. Oh, and at nighttime too, it was like I'm like, oh my god. So, anyways, bottom line, be responsible. If I was a scumbag, these guys' dogs would have been dead. And I would have been like, yeah, wow, no sound. Oh, look at that, you know?
Yeah.
So you just never know. Like, you could have a neighbor like that who's just like crazy as hell and doesn't give a shit about life and isn't going to tolerate that for the 5 years that I tolerated that
Yeah.
at this house. So
You
there it
might
is
be
there.
there
So just be
living as a
careful.
permanent resident and someone else is a permanent resident. You both have to deal with each other and they just decided, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not dealing with it anymore. And then they
Exactly.
go through
That's
that.
it.
I had one
Last
of my
straw.
ex-girlfriends, her dad told me a story about how some dude threw a steak full of a bunch of pills into his backyard to try to kill
Yes.
his dog. So these
Exactly.
things happen.
It happens. Hell yeah. And so, yeah, one, you love your dogs, which you should. Um, watch over them. Be a good neighbor. Just just be mindful. And if you're in a bad neighborhood, shit, man, move out. That dog ain't gonna save you. I mean, it may, but hey, somebody could poison it. Somebody could shoot it.
Yeah.
Somebody could shoot you. So it's like, what? Why would you even take that risk? I mean, shit, man.
Yep. Now, granted, it's always good for your dog to know how to protect you, but it's never good to just intentionally assume that your dog has the same energy that a bullet does. Because if someone pulls out a gun and
Right,
just starts shooting your dog before they start shooting you, then what? Yeah, you might be able to
right.
punch me a little bit, but I killed your dog and now I'm about to kill you. You
Yeah,
know, don't
yeah.
intentionally try to say, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna send my dog after you," all this and that, because then now with that knowledge, someone's gonna be like, "All right, if you're gonna send your dog after me, I'm bringing my gun."
Right,
You
exactly.
know,
I
and we
mean,
live in Texas, so with that being said, the gun laws in every state differs. But if you're
yeah,
in a place where you're able to go, oh, you're of age, okay, go ahead and go and get a gun. There's no real big issue.
yeah.
Everybody's got guns in Texas.
Everybody's
So
got a
this
gun
is
out
not
here.
something you want to just assume, oh yeah, I'm gonna send my dog after you and you're fucked. Most likely the
Yeah,
person you're saying that to has a gun and is ready to blow your dog away and blow you away. So why would you even
right.
put your dog that you say you love in that type of predicament?
Yeah. And even where we were from, California, like
Yeah.
if you're a bad dude, you're gonna be concealed carrying without a permit. That's gonna
Yep.
be a throwaway. That's gonna be literally a throwaway. You're gonna
Yep.
blast and you're gonna toss it, and that's it. It's done. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
you
Why
give a
try to
shit
go
about
and
that
put
dog.
your
You give
dog
a shit
in
about
harm's
your own,
way
yeah,
just to
your own
stroke your own
well-being.
ego?
Exactly. Like, don't even put yourself in that scenario. I mean, no, man, just be a good person. Like, life is too short. Don't be a fucking scumbag. Be a good dude. It's like, goddamn, like nobody likes people like that. Like,
Yep, and that's
that's
a
a shitty
wonderful
life.
way to end it on. Life is very short, so make sure that whatever you guys and everyone is doing, that you're doing it to the best possibility that you can do. Don't hold out on things that you want to do because you don't think that it's going to work out. If there's a girl that you want to talk to and you think she's the most beautiful woman in the world, tell her she's the most beautiful woman in the world. The worst she can say is no. If you want that job and you are unsure whether you're going to get it or that you are worth that job, take the effort. The worst that they can do is say that it's not right for you. If you want that raise, you got to be courageous enough to talk to your bosses and say, hey, I feel I've done a good enough job to deserve that raise. Can I please have a raise? The worst they can say is no. But if you never ask, you'll never know. So make sure you're putting the same effort that you want to put to have a good life into actually having a good life. Everyone deserves happiness. Everyone has the chance to find happiness. Whether you take that chance is up to you. Don't be one of the many people that lose out on life and that their life wastes away because they're waiting for the opportunity to strike them. They're waiting for life to cater to them. You have to grab life by the hands. All the dogs that I have, all the dog breeds that I don't have them just because they're cool. I'm not able to keep them where they're all good with each other just because and just as a freak of nature. I put the effort into it because I wanted to make sure that this happens. So you need to want to do whatever it is that you're doing in life. You need to love whatever it is that you're doing in life. And if you don't love whatever it is that you're doing in your life and you're doing it because you have to, whether it be bills, whether it be other responsibilities, try to focus on putting yourself in a better position than you were before. Whether it be try to find a place that's going to pay you more or that's at least a little bit better in terms of comfortability than the last place is. But always make sure you're striving to have the best possible life that you do. We work as hard as we do to get this paycheck. Try to enjoy it. Now, for us, that's making sure that we're doing good things with our dogs. For other people, it's a vacation in Venice or Venezuela. Do whatever's going to be the right thing to make you happy. So, with that, I just want to thank you again, Elijah, for joining me on this podcast and for letting me interview you and talk to you about your program and gauging and picking your brain about a lot of different things. We really are glad to have you here on the podcast, man.
Of course, man. If you watched all the way to the end, you're the real MVP. We appreciate you tuning in. Check out my boys' videos in the future. They're going to be amazing. We both wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much for tuning in to him. I'm Elijah Prada with SocalPresa.com, and we will catch you soon. Have a wonderful
Yeah,
day, brother.
absolutely. And again, you can find my friend here at SocalPresa.com, on his website, on Instagram at SocalPresa.com. For me, you can find my Instagram for my kennel at Mirkwood Bestiaries. You can find the Instagram for the podcast at The.Work.Podcast, as well as find us on YouTube at Mirkwood Bestiaries and at The Work Podcast as well by Mirkwood Bestiaries. So make sure to give us a check. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our stuff to see what's going on in future things. On our next podcast, we will be talking to the man, the myth, the legend, Eric from Alibi Kings, a really good dude who knows a lot about alibis. So thank you for joining us today, my friend, and I hope you and everyone else has a wonderful day.
Thank you for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
All right.